Okay, I'm ready. I'm ready.
Sponge Ben.
Hi, ready. I'm Wilson Lai.
He got you.
Shwing!
Unbelievable.
I'm Benjamin Yap.
I'm Eli Sands.
You're listening to Deep Cut.
On Deep Cut, we compare a director's most popular film with a personal favorite chosen by one of us.
We also discuss that director's life and career to bring in context that helps us view their movies as they may want us to.
We're back with another Upkeep episode on Todd Haynes' May December, now streaming on Netflix in some countries.
Woo!
Bonkers movie.
Oh, yeah.
Sad movie.
We previously covered Todd Haynes with Carol and Far From Heaven, and he's still making movies. We kind of skipped out on the Velvet Underground
Whoops.
because I don't listen to this band.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's a great documentary.
I'm sure.
I'm sure.
Pass.
Sorry. I'm just never going to watch it. And I'm probably not going to watch Wonderstruck as well. Sorry, Todd, but that's just what it is.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not a child.
But Wonderstruck came out before we did Todd Haynes, so
Yeah,
we don't
yeah.
have to. It's not homework that we have to.
We don't have
Woo.
to.
Yeah, it's Deep Cut Upkeep, not Deep Cut Backup. It's the hardest sentence I've ever had to pronounce.
It sounds like we're hating on Todd Haynes, so disclaimer.
Wait,
we
no, I
love
love Todd Haynes.
Haynes.
May disclaimer.
Todd Haynes working at a solid rate. Anyway, before we get into this, be sure to follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen to our podcasts, so that people can discover us more. If you can, rate us on these platforms so that people can discover us and listen to us talk shit about films and Todd Haynes.
No.
Yeah.
And also, we have a Discord server, and you can jump on and talk about movies, I guess. Anyway, so we're actually recording this right after our Showing Up episode. And fun fact, same DP.
Christopher Blauvelt.
So that's the connection today.
Love the man.
Very different looking movies.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Today's also Christmas Day.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, it is Christmas Day. Happy holidays to all who celebrate.
May December in mid-December.
Oh.
Oh, nice. So, May December is Todd Haynes' 10th feature film, including that documentary we're never going to watch. And
Sorry.
our 9th narrative feature. I don't know
That works.
whether you think documentaries are actual real movies. They are.
Don't come for us. Please don't come for us.
We love you, Todd.
We love you, documentary lovers.
Yeah, and so May December is a film about an actress played by Natalie Portman who goes to a little town in Georgia, I think, to visit a family played by Julianne Moore and Charles Melton, who play a couple in which they were in the tabloids because when Julianne Moore's character was 36 years old, she started an affair with her now husband, who was a 12-year-old at the time. But now they're married and they have kids. So Natalie Portman's actress character goes in and like kind of disrupts what seems like some kind of peace in this community and this family because she's trying to prepare for a role where she plays Julianne Moore's character in a film. That's the setup.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think of this film?
I've been chewing on a phrase that a colleague of mine said back in like October, which is good unethical art.
Oh, whoa.
This movie has a very clear moral compass, but the ways in which it wraps you, the viewer, up in a very unethical, icky situation is so fascinating to me. I think this is an incredibly rich text. The way that it is layering its meaning in small behaviors and pieces of dialogue is so well done. Ultimately, it is a movie that tricks you in a lot of ways. And I'm always, always, always interested when a movie is doing that, particularly when it is talking about our current American context.
But did you like this movie, Eli?
I did. Yeah, I'm a big fan. I think it's really icky, and I think there's a lot of value in that.
Wilson?
Yeah. I love this movie. I think this movie is fantastic. I haven't stopped thinking about it since I watched it on my computer more than a couple weeks ago. Funny story, I was trying to catch it in the theater last night before we recorded today, and a lot of poor circumstances led me to miss the screening, and I was really pissed off about it for like half an hour.
Sucks.
Yeah, so that's why it's not as fresh in my mind. But even if it's not as fresh in my mind, I think the feeling still remains. This feeling of uneasiness, this feeling of wickedness that's sort of shared between these characters, and this this fucking like horrible weight put on the shoulders of Charles Melton's character. And it really stuck with me and really like grew on me as time went on. And I think that script by Samy Burch, which I read was like sitting on the blacklist for like a couple years, is fantastic. It's incredible. And
First script.
Yeah. I love the dialogue between these characters.
Yeah.
And I love these actors in this movie. I think all three of them are fantastic.
Yep.
I think there was a lot of people asking Haynes, was there sort of a similar tension and pushing back and forth between Julianne Moore and Natalie Portman on set because their characters sort of do that thing?
Yeah.
But he said no. And a lot of the conversation with these two actresses in particular is about the space and the care that they gave each other and their own craft. And that allowed for these incredible performances to build on each other, even though in the story they're actually sort of battling against each other.
Yeah.
And also building on each other, though.
Yeah. Yes, true. But it really gives them both the chance to shine. The crazy thing about it is it's not those two performances that stick with me. Well, like, they do, but I think the performance that sticks with me the most is Melton's performance.
Agreed.
It's truly a star turn. I think he's so haunting in this. Like, the way he carries himself is sort of like, oh my God, dude, that sucks for you. Just like watching him in frame, I'm like, oh my God. Yeah, great fucking movie. I think the score, which also was lifted from a great Michel Legrand old score, the
Go-Between.
Yeah,
Go-Between,
the Go-Between. The composer Marcelo Zarvos re-recorded the composition from an old Michel Legrand score is jarring and confrontational. Also with Blauvelt's cinematography with those punchy zooms. I think it's just a fantastic movie. It's Todd Haynes' best, in my opinion. I think everyone should be paying attention to this movie.
I think I agree.
Especially when you're talking about award season. I think this is a big play, and it's just something that I ate up.
It's actually really on a lot of people's year-end lists.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Ben, what did you think?
So I came into this movie with very little context. I just kind of knew vaguely what it was about. Like, I knew it was about this May-December relationship, but I knew nothing about it, and I am still thinking about it, and I don't know necessarily how to completely think about it. I watched this last night, and everything you said is like everything you're saying, like the performances are incredible, and I think the writing is incredible. But what I'm just like chewing on is just how weird the movie is when you compare it to any other American film in the landscape, right?
Yeah.
It is strangely so different in the way that it decides to build its scene structure, its narrative structure. It's not really a film with a necessarily satisfying conclusion. It's not a film that's actually really telling you a story. It's just giving you a situation, and like some people are butting heads, but it's not really about like, oh, A, B, and then C. It's not like a traditional 3-act kind of thing either. It is such a interesting, almost like piece that in my Letterboxd review, I kind of think of it as like a diorama of like, here are a bunch of people in this situation, and then let's throw in a wrench, which is Natalie Portman's actress character, that's going to look at it from many different sides. She interviews all these people who appear for like one scene, like Julianne Moore's ex-husband or the lawyer, for example. And these scenes, like, they're shown to you in a very like simple ways. It's just like, oh, here's a conversation, and she's learning new information. We're learning new information. So a lot of the film is about us gleaning information about the situation. And it's almost just kind of presenting you all these things. And then it drops in these like huge scenes where like things are really coming to a head. And a lot of those are with Melton kind of breaking down in different situations. Or maybe Julianne Moore's character having a breakdown about cakes. Or like these extremely tense scenes between Portman and Moore where they are sizing each other up. And those scenes are strangely not highly emotional scenes. They're very tense.
Right.
Everything is about subtlety and about what is under the surface.
Yeah.
I find the construction so interesting to think about. And it's not like a traditional drama. And we know Haynes can do the straightforward drama because he's done it.
Yeah.
And I think about how he has such good control about the entirety of a film. He knows, okay, this film is a X kind of film. It is a this kind of film. Like Carol is a swooning romantic melodrama.
Yeah.
Or like Dark Waters, which I don't really like very much, is kind of like a conspiracy thriller, and it's in that mode. Or Far From Heaven is his Sirkin melodrama.
Right.
In the totality, all these films are one thing. And then May December, in comparison to all these things, has Haynes' touch, but looks so different from all of those.
True.
So I think because of that, me coming into this, expecting kind of something more melodramatic, I think, I was so confused. I think like midway, I was like, wait, this is not what I thought it was going to be. It is so hard to place for me. And I think that's what makes it quite remarkable that he's making this in this way. Or like, this is the kind of story, or like, this is the kind of script that he's working with.
Right.
I really like that. I really like how different it is. And that it is this film that asks more questions than it answers any of them. In fact, it barely answers any questions. It's just like, okay, here's it. And then you're just like, okay, I'm just going to live with this thing you just threw at me. All right, great.
Doesn't answer anything.
And of course, thematically, it is chewing on very interesting things about how we're interested in like these sordid true crime tales and stuff.
Yeah.
And it kind of investigates that. Yeah. But I was reading some stuff like people saying that he's also indulging it, but I don't know whether I agree with that. What do you guys think?
I don't agree with... Well,
Well, I think that also goes hand in hand with the other big question that has been surrounding this film, right? Is this a comedy?
Huh.
Like, is this camp? Is this comedy? Apparently, the Golden Globes, yes, considers it a comedy. And apparently in some...
did it get nominated for comedy at the Golden Globes?
Okay, I'm going to double check.
So
I think it should-
apparently,
That's
like, because I mean,
preposterous.
I was reading that people who are able to see this in like big cinemas that were like full of people, like people did laugh and like that they find it that there's a kind of acidic humor to the proceedings, which you can kind of understand, like, because you can tell that all these lies are going on, like these like half truths between the women, especially.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's kind of maybe an uncomfortable kind of humor, but it's not like ha funny. It's kind of just like, oh my gosh, like she's definitely not saying what she's feeling or meaning.
Yeah.
But I think it's definitely not camp, and I think everyone who says it's camp is absolutely talking out their ass.
Yeah, camp, no.
Yeah, so many people are saying it.
I
Yeah.
think a key definition of camp is being naive or unaware of its comedy.
Right.
Actually, I would say this is a comedy up to a point.
Right.
I think that the movie is cueing you to laugh at a lot of, frankly, kind of yucky things early on. From the opening moments, I was giggling of this close up on a butterfly and this dramatic music from the go-between. And then, you know, that early on smash zoom on Julianne Moore at the fridge when she
the
says,
fridge.
We need more hot
I
dogs.
don't think we have enough hot dogs. And then cut to
dogs.
a ton of hot dogs on the grill.
That was like, wait, what is happening? That was such a...
Exactly, though.
He's putting the screws into you, you know what I mean?
Exactly. And it crucially is before you learn within the text of the movie
Yeah.
what happened between Gracie and Joe back in the day.
Yeah.
As the movie goes on, it has made you laugh at these things, and then it punishes you for having laughed at those things.
Yeah.
There's all this double entendre that's throughout the movie in the dialogue, and you laugh at that too. And it all comes back to haunt you later on in the movie. Todd Haynes is so effectively weaponizing the audience's, to borrow your language, Ben, interest in the sordid aspects of this horrible, horrible situation.
Yeah.
He makes us laugh at it and then turns that into a sharpened stick
Yeah.
with which he impales us, really.
Yeah.
I think it is so smartly constructed. Or I should say Samy Burch constructs it that way as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say it's not a melodrama. We know Haynes works in that mode. He likes to work in that mode. He likes to use melodramatic means. And maybe those music cues are kind of melodramatic, but I would say most of it is not.
Yeah.
It is fully a realist movie, very naturalistic. I would say even the way it is shot and the way it looks, the way it's graded.
Yeah.
Like you compare this with Carol, Far From Heaven, this is not at all like those.
Very different.
It is almost documentary-like, almost. You know, very video, very digital.
Very, very.
I find that is a very solid choice across the board. And then like when he goes into like movie making at the end, then it looks so different.
Right.
You know?
Right.
You see that change. And because of that, he's making something that's so almost mundane. Like it's sensational as material, but the approach to the material is not sensational.
Right.
That's the thing, though. It's wearing the clothing of like big movie. It's wearing the clothing of comedy, of melodrama. It is dressing itself up as totally normal. Like it looks like it could be a standard Netflix movie.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that derogatorily. I think that's on purpose. And it is about evil people fundamentally. And it is so morally clear about that, but it does not appear that way. This is the bait.
Yeah.
The pet shop owner says, don't touch the bait. Another one of those double entendres
So good.
Oh my God.
that this movie is full of. You cannot help as an audience but take it. You laugh and you pity, and then you are made to be the beneficiary of all this evil.
Yeah.
That's why the construction of this movie is so smart to me. And maybe, I know I just said that Showing Up is my movie of the year in our last recording, but this is the smartest construction of the year to me. Probably the best script of the year.
Oh,
for sure.
100% is my favorite script of the year.
Probably.
Yeah, I sort of agree with you, Ben. I did write in my Letterboxd review that he sort of achieves what his previous melodramas are seeking. But I think that is, for me, just that feeling of like despair, or like that feeling of being able to like really resonate with these characters through the course of the film. But it's not even through like plot reveals or anything. Like, I do really feel like just through seeing these characters through these different diorama perspectives, you're able to slowly come to terms with what is going on or what has happened and how this is affecting everybody. With the greatest melodramas, they really sit with you. The directors sort of plant a seed with you, and it grows on you or with you after you leave the film. And you can't stop thinking about these characters and the situations that they're in. And I think Todd Haynes sort of cuts out the plot machinations and focuses on a single situation, and a single situation that has not changed since they basically met like 12 years ago. Like, sure, she went to jail, but they are practically in the same relationship situation.
Yeah.
I think Samy Burch already realizes that is enough. That is enough to construct a movie out of and to investigate all these characters with the help of Natalie Portman's actress, which I'm scared of her. Like, she's like crazy.
She's a little creep.
What the fuck's up with her? Like, I think there's like...
When I say evil people, I mean Gracie and I mean Elizabeth.
Yeah. No, so the melodrama thing is really interesting because, like, when I think about melodrama, I always think about melodrama is always built to the moment, like a single moment. You know, the moment of despair or the moment of like catharsis where the people get together.
Right.
Ooh.
You know, that's what melodrama is. It's always a moment. There is no moment in this.
No.
It's not even trying to build to a moment. Like, there's big scenes, you know, like, especially Melton and Gracie when he finally asks her about it. But that moment is so repressed and it barely gets anywhere and it just gets blocked.
Yeah.
If there is a moment, it is Joe trying to confront Gracie and talk about the foundation of their relationship, but Gracie thwarts it
Completely.
in the same manner that she's been able to squash all objections
Yeah.
to this relationship in the past as well.
Yeah.
So because of that, like with melodramas, you're always going, okay, I'm going to go, I'm going to get the catharsis. Whether it's a sadness or happiness, doesn't matter, that's catharsis. This one's just like this gnawing thing. You're like, oh, okay, something's going on. And then like, it just slowly dawns on you. Like, it's not like a moment. It's like a gnawing realization that, wait, this is completely just fucked. Like, these people are fucked. Like, everything's crazy, you know what I mean? Like, and nothing's going to change.
The moment to have changed any of this is long, long past.
Yeah. You just sit with it. And so I think because of that, it sticks in your head because nothing really gets resolved. It's not a film that you can kind of walk away from because it doesn't have that moment of conclusion. You're just like going away from it. And you're like, oh, fuck, like, what was that? That was such a weird thing. And I was like, oh, okay. And the filmmakers are not giving you, the writer is not giving you like that sense. And because that's, how can you make a sense out of this?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think that's the critique about making films about true crime stories, like trying to find the most pleasant way of accessing the film for audience pleasure is actually quite fucked.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. That is the moral argument of the movie, I believe.
Yeah. I don't know. It's really freaking interesting.
I think he hit the jackpot with this one.
Yeah. When I was watching the film, I was like, oh, wow. He's kind of like making this film that's kind of like making an argument against biopics about real people. Then he kind of is making one. And also he has made a lot of biopics, actually.
Yes.
Think about that Barbie short film that he made. Also a biopic.
Yeah.
Right.
So
You know,
it's the
and
first one he ever did.
Yeah, but he's also been fucking around with the formula, like with I'm Not There. That's like a really weird little biopic thing.
And his David Bowie one too, right?
Yeah, the David Bowie one also, yes, kind of a David Bowie biopic. And then he has Dark Waters is also based on a true story.
Right.
That one's maybe the most by the numbers version of him doing a biopic.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, he's been steeped in this, making films about real people,
Right.
And so he must have an opinion about it. So it's really interesting how he's doing this, and I guess he needed that maturity to make something like May December and make it in such a fashion that is so different from how people would do a biopic about real events.
Yeah.
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 So it's really interesting.
We do say that there's no like moment, right? But I do think the slow revelation that Melton's character has through basically that night, right, where he tries to basically has sex with Portman's character and then goes back to Gracie's and talks to her or like asks her, was I old enough? Or I don't know exactly what he asked her, but he sort of questions the relationship.
Yes,
so I think that in itself is that moment, right? Or like if you were to place a moment, it is him sort of not confronting it with Gracie, but actually coming to terms within himself that something was not right. And I think you can see it. Like, sure, that final shot at the graduation with both of the women is outstanding, but I do think that shot of him watching his kid graduate is sort of earth-shattering. Like, I think that is
devastating.
What the movie is. So that whole last act really hinges on his performance and that crumbling of whatever he had, right? I think even at the start, he's just sort of like holding on for dear life, but then it just all sort of comes crashing down in that last act. And he plays it so well, and I really, really feel for him. Like, if there's anything that moves forward in this film, it is his realization.
But oh man, he's still stuck.
Yeah.
He's sadder and he knows and he's stuck. And it's like, oh my God, he doesn't.
Yeah. Well, to calm you, right? Like in the real life story of Mary Kay Letourneau, the husband divorces her later.
Yeah.
Huh. You see exactly how Gracie keeps him, how she weaponizes her emotions to keep him close. The brave thing about this movie is that it does not take for granted the truth, the inarguable truth that underage relationships are wrong. It goes the step further and presents why it is so wrong. You see exactly how Joe's development has been stunted by this.
Yeah.
And again, it shows up even in the physicality of Charles Melton's performance. His first appearance on screen is him working a grill. And even though he's at a distance, I was like, this guy is not confident with using a grill. Like he's not carrying himself in a confident way. To show the manner in which this man's independence has totally been taken from him and his life is ruined, that is a strong, clear moral argument against the foundation of his relationship with Gracie. And then to see how it remains stuck in that way because of how Gracie acts. I think maybe the key line of the movie to me is when Elizabeth says, "That's a little naive," to Gracie, and Gracie says, "I am naive. Always have been. In some ways, it's been a gift."
Yeah.
That to me is like as good as a confession that she knows that she's wrong and is choosing to ignore it.
Like feigning ignorance, right?
Yeah.
The movie does not let you ignore it to its benefit.
Because I think admitting to your naivety is like really being like, no, I'm
not
acting
naive,
naive. I actually know better.
Yeah.
But to me, Elizabeth is also adopting the same willful naivete. She asks these stupid questions that she knows the answers to in this fake therapy talk in order to extract what she wants out of people. That is the same manner of manipulation that Gracie has in a different context and arguably a less destructive one. But it perpetuates and it exacerbates what Gracie is doing for sure.
Wait,
Yes.
so are we?
I don't know how to respond to that.
It's a combination of savvy and willful dumbness.
Yeah.
Like at first I thought, oh, Elizabeth is a really dumb person. And then I realized, oh, no, she's not self-aware, but she is very sharp and knows exactly what she's doing. when she asks these types of questions.
She's definitely pushing buttons
Yes.
with this kind of like,
Yes.
oh, I'm just like trying to figure stuff out, you know, I'm just like trying to, but maybe I don't know if I agree that it's naive, because sometimes like she says stuff which is very manipulative and it doesn't feel like it comes from naivete. It feels like it comes from like, I know exactly what to say to get things out of you.
Yeah. But then they're
Yeah.
both smarter than they put on, right?
Yeah.
They're both smarter than they put on.
It's like a performed niceness for both of them, you know what I mean?
Right.
Yes. A performed naivete.
Right.
Yeah.
But all like Gracie wants is control, and all Elizabeth wants is, well, not all Elizabeth wants, but what Elizabeth ends up wanting is chaos.
Which is also a kind of control, though.
Yeah, yes. Because in Elizabeth bringing chaos, Gracie loses that control. And sort of that is what Elizabeth is looking for. I don't know how that helps her in her acting. And honestly, at the end of the movie, the acting isn't that good. So I don't know how helpful this whole trip has been for her. But it'll give her more insight into this character that she wants to play. I think that is the Monster Hunter kind of ending, right?
Oh, yeah.
Of like,
I
oh
see what
my
you're
God, this
saying.
movie's like shit. Like this with the snakes and
Yeah. And it causes 20-year-old kid to play the 13-year-old.
well, because she said
Yeah.
they're not hot enough, right? Remember when she was
Not
looking
sexy
she was
enough.
looking
Yeah.
I'm like, that's a fucked up thing to say.
So awful. Yeah.
Yeah. No, like it's really interesting with Gracie's character because she feigns weakness so much. She's like always crying and she's like,
Yes.
But the thing is like every time she is attacked, she's actually more in control.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that's so cool because it's like, okay, not cool, but like it's so interesting to watch.
Yes, it is. It is.
How Moore plays that. Like she's like, oh, like I'm crying over the fucking cakes, but that's just a way that I can get my little child husband to like take care of me and
Yeah.
like feel like an adult.
Yeah.
Because I'm such a weak woman, you know, like that she's playing this character.
Yeah.
But it's like, what the fuck? Like you're just using that to like control everyone else.
Oh, they're all so good. They're all so good at this.
So that's the kind of game that's happening between her and Elizabeth. That's the thing about watching this film. It was so weird because baseline, they're both evil characters, but I watch it and I'm just like confused about the sympathy when it comes to watching the two women interact.
The sympathy between them.
For you to have, yeah.
For my sympathy for them. Yeah. Like, because it's like, okay, now I can see that, say, for example, Elizabeth is obviously using Gracie and is fucking with her, or like, is just doing this for her own art, or blah, 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 blah. And I feel bad for Gracie. And I'm like, wait, why am I feeling bad for Gracie? And I get confused.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But putting these two like not great characters against each other is very confusing for me as an audience, being like, oh, okay, who's using who? And obviously the main victim here is not in this pairing, right? The main victim is outside of the pairing. Right. So that's an interesting experience from like an audience alignment perspective. Because yes, you can't really align yourself with Melton's character because he's not a driving force of the film.
No.
He's just a supporting character who is a victim in the proceedings, but he's no agency. So therefore your alignment is either with Gracie or Elizabeth, and because Elizabeth is the investigator, you're aligned with her.
Wow.
And she obviously has her own ulterior motives. But as you go between the two women, it's a very confusing thing because you're aligned with the two people who are not great in this film.
Yep.
Yeah, so that's a really fascinating kind of thing. Because alignment is not the same as sympathy.
Another way in which the movie is poisoning you, the viewer.
Yeah. It's so well written and like so interesting.
To that point about how Gracie is able to use her feelings to control Joe, did you two notice that Julianne Moore's lisp comes and goes in crucial moments?
Yeah.
I didn't know it comes and goes.
I don't...
I think it does.
you think on purpose?
When she is a little bit mad, it drops. And I can't tell if that's a tell or like her deploying a little bit more power when she needs it.
Yeah.
But either way, it feels like a purposeful choice to me.
Honestly, when I was watching it, I was not sure about the lisp. I was like, oh, why are we doing a lisp? Like, what are we doing here? I was like, we're just adding character traits. But I get why they did it because the whole point is so that when Elizabeth does that monologue, you hear the difference. Yeah, immediately you hear the difference.
What a scene, man. What a scene.
Yeah.
The lisp is just for that scene, for you to hear it immediately.
Yeah.
Which is a great choice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, oh shit. Because I was questioning the whole time. I was like, oh, do we really need the lisp? Was this necessary? Then I was like, okay, yeah, I get it now.
It's so yucky. That monologue and its emotional cogency is so deeply unsettling. And then, of course, it just feeds back into the punchline that the movie she's making is trash.
Yeah. But incredibly, she gives a great performance in those, 7 minutes, that one take. She reads that letter.
Yeah. She's so good at being bad at acting. Like, it's amazing. It's like
Hard to do.
The most difficult thing is to act bad at acting. You know what I mean? You can just be a bad actor, but it's a very different kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it is.
So it's like, incredible.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
I'm so glad because I feel like Natalie Portman has not been getting these roles in a long time.
I did think about Jackie.
Yeah.
Another character who is performing something in order to control an outcome. Obviously, a less evil end for Jackie, but similar construction in a way.
I can't remember. I think I read this on somebody's Letterboxd review. I don't know who, but they're saying that Portman's really good at playing characters who are performing.
Yes, I agree. Yeah. I agree.
And Moore is really good at playing characters who are something. I can't remember what they were. It was very interesting. Yeah. Because Portman has done it a lot. These like characters with like this duplicitous kind of like thing going on. Jackie's one.
Right.
Black Swan.
Yeah.
Star Wars.
Star Wars, yeah.
When she played Mrs. Star Wars.
Mrs. Star Wars. It's the titular role.
Yeah. Something interesting is I almost felt like Moore was just playing this supporting character. Even though she obviously takes up a lot of the time, but she's like just this one character that's just like this.
Yeah.
I don't really know how to explain what I'm trying to say, but there's not much progression there. You know what I mean? Like it's just like she's just here. She's just a person.
I don't think we really see her outside of the eyes of Melton's character or Elizabeth.
Yeah.
I think that's right.
He gets to hang out with his dad, right? That he has his own scene on his own.
Right. That's true.
And she gets to do her acting stuff outside.
Huh. That's true.
The one moment might be that hot dog moment when we're invited to laugh at her and view her as innocuous or ditzy or whatever. She's not. You want the movie to be about her coming to some realization of the harm that she's wrought, and she doesn't.
Yeah.
She does not change across the movie. She's immovable.
Yeah.
Does that feel kind of close to what you're driving for, Ben? Like, her as a supporting character, she's like this force in the movie that does not change.
Exactly. It's like she's not really a character. She's just a person. She's just like, this is a person.
Yeah.
You know, it's not a character with an arc.
No.
And it's just a person.
Yep.
Yeah. At least with Elizabeth, she kind of has an arc. Like she's like getting to know and she's becoming Gracie, I guess. Yeah. And of course, Melton has an arc. But like, it's really interesting that the emotional development is happening on the supporting characters, but not on the so-called main characters. I just find the narratorship of this, and I'm just going to keep saying it, it's just so freaking interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What other movies like this?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I wish that I could have watched this 3 times before we had this conversation.
See, me too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe we can. We talk about it again in our year-end review episode.
I got a lot of other movies to watch.
True.
What else is there to talk about? I mean, the cinematography is great. I would talk about the grade and everything.
I think it's so fascinating how different this looks from Showing Up.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well, Showing Up feels casual in a way that's calculated,
Like
but it's very
chill.
soft and chill.
Yeah.
But this is like calculated and punchy and like showing restraint at certain points and important points, but really driving this movie forward because the plot really doesn't do that. Like sometimes it really takes that push in to do it.
It's a very simply shot thing, but the showiest moments are like very simple, but they are showy. Like the 2 mirror shots where it's a 2-shot thing going on. 2 of them, and it's like, oh, this is a thing. But it's like not like a big thing. It's just like, oh, here's a thing, and let's just watch the 2 of them, profile to profile, talking to each other, doing the makeup. The first time I think is when she's like talking to her and going through the makeup. So the second time is doing the makeup. Yeah. Right? That's great. And then of course the mirror shots when Mary, the daughter, is getting the dress and the mirrors are doubling more.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck's going on, man? Just like simple, cool stuff. Yeah. And then when it's just like regular, just like, investigative parts, it's just like shot very simply. Like a lot of times very wide shots and just like simple shot, reverse shot, and just like, okay, we're just gathering information. It's clean, man. This movie is real clean, like the way that it's constructed.
but very, very dense at the same time.
Yeah.
It's crystal clear as it needs to be. If it were at all morally ambiguous, it would be a really dangerous piece of art. It is super clear, but it is very dense. It's layered with all these little meanings, but they're all clear.
I feel like it's clear for us, but I feel like I'm looking online and like, especially on Twitter, people are like, "Oh, why is this movie not condemning this relationship?"
No.
I'm like, did we watch the same movie?
Oh God.
Did we watch the same movie?
Is that the takes that's happening?
Honestly, maybe some people's media literacy is dead.
Oh.
I blame Marvel.
I mean, I talked about Killers of the Flower Moon in my Letterboxd review.
Yeah.
Because that's also a film that doesn't really like explicitly condemn what it's showing you, but like you fucking don't need the film to tell you what you're looking at is bad.
No.
Ideally.
You should know. It's like, okay, you get it. Right? It's quite clear. Then the point isn't about condemning, because there's no point having a moral to a story when the moral is so goddamn obvious. You know what I mean? There are much more interesting questions at play.
Yeah.
Plus, it's stronger if the audience can construct that conclusion in their own mind.
Yeah.
I don't think this movie leaves that conclusion up to chance.
Yeah.
Look at how stunted and sad this man's life is because of what had happened to him.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like that smoking weed scene.
Oh.
Holy shit, dude.
Oh, God.
I was like, what?
This is the saddest weed smoking scene I've ever seen on film, man. Oh,
Holy
jeez.
moly.
That he can't access his father's or his son's life through that same action of smoking together. It's so sad.
That's such a great scene because it's like you get it and it's never really like said explicitly. No one said it like explicitly, but you understand what it's trying to say without anyone like literally telling you what the scene's
Yeah,
about.
exactly.
Like the writing is very, very subtle and sharp as fuck.
Killer
Like,
script.
it's just like you
Killer
just
script.
understand. You just get it from what you're seeing. You kind of just get what's going on.
Dude, I can't wait to see what she
Yeah.
writes next. This is fantastic.
Yeah. She wrote a Coyote versus Acme movie.
Oh, that one, the one that got axed?
shelved.
Ugh, that makes me so mad.
Shelf, and now because of protests, might be shopped to more distributors now.
Oh, good. Oh, good.
Yeah, but that's the follow-up, I guess, to May December.
I really, really want to watch that movie. It looked so good.
Yeah.
It's Wile Coyote, and he's performing, and he's interviewing the Acme guys.
The Roadrunner.
Yeah, the Roadrunner. He's like, why are you like this to me?
Yeah. I know Carol was massively critically acclaimed the year that it came out, but no awards play or very little awards play. People didn't.
That's true.
I don't know. People in the Academy didn't like it. I hope this year that Todd Haynes gets his due. Like, I feel like this is the right movie, and I think he does have a stellar cast that is getting all these raves. I'm crossing my fingers that this like pushes up Todd Haynes' like star meter on IMDb.
The only metric that matters.
Yeah.
I'm an Oscars pessimist. I think this gets maybe some performance nominations.
Yeah, hopefully Melton.
Yeah.
And I think a script nomination, but I don't think it's going to win. I think Poor Things will probably win Best Original Script, right?
Oh,
I think so.
interesting. Yeah.
I think so.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I think this deserves it entirely.
I think it should definitely get a nomination, and I'm hoping that it gets a nomination in screenplay.
I think it will definitely get some kind of nomination.
Yeah, it'll get some nominations.
The buzz is really big. And the fact that it was on Netflix means a lot of people saw this. And the
Yeah.
star power is going to push it.
Yeah.
But remember that the Oscars hates Netflix and is vindictive about what they did to the industry.
The thing is, it wasn't really a Netflix film.
No.
It wasn't produced by Netflix.
Yeah, that's why it's
They
not
just got the
released
rights to it.
in all
Yeah.
countries.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's a bit different, but I think now it just looks like a Netflix film. But I mean, it doesn't look like a Netflix film. You know what I mean? It looks so different.
But it does look like a Netflix film, but it doesn't look like a Netflix film.
Yeah. It's so confusing.
But and the good thing is, I do think, even though it's sort of, I'm sure it's more heightened to watch this in a theater, like, I think this plays really well at home on the couch. Like, I think it moves very fast. And
I think so.
I don't, you're not losing that much if you don't see it in theater. So yeah, crossing fingers. Hope maybe we can get our deep cut at the Oscars. Well, no, we're not at the Oscars, but one of our picks are at the Oscars.
Us at the Oscars. Yeah.
Wow, imagine us hosting the Oscars.
Oh, it'd be so
God,
bad.
I would die.
Who the fuck are these people?
More like the Deep Cutskers. Am I right, Chris Pratt? There's so much that we could dig into. Like, it's so densely packed.
It's so good. It's really good. I think I was just really surprised. I've been very mid on Todd Haynes. Like, I'm mid on Carol. Well, mid being like 4 stars and liking it. But he's not like an all-timer. But I think he's inching his way towards being an all-timer with this movie.
I would agree.
Yeah, it really took me by surprise.
He's always been a good director, but I think maybe it's like a taste thing sometimes.
Yeah.
Right? He's really good. Like, he's very intentional. You know he's not, like, lazy.
Right.
I think that's the thing I take away from when I watch his films. Like, he's, like, really has a vision to what he's trying to push out.
Right.
With each one. Even if I don't like the film, I can see, okay, it's trying to do this.
He is borderline academic.
And 100% he's like well-read and well-watched.
Yeah.
Like,
He's a cinephile. He's a Criterion nerd.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it shows. I think it shows when a filmmaker loves films. Then it's like
Yes.
they draw on so much more, and that's why it can feel like less of a Hollywood film to me, like the construction, because he has seen more films.
Yeah.
You know, I think that's just the nature of being more well read or well watched. Yeah.
Yeah.
If your diet is just Hollywood films, you're just gonna make the same shit.
Yep.
Of course.
If your diet is shit, you're gonna shit.
And the risk is that then his movies become too intellectual. And I think that's why, I mean, I use the word austere to describe Carol on our episode on Carol.
Well, even more so for Far From Heaven.
Yeah, totally.
For me.
It's like almost all head construction, even though it gets a lot of the social politics kind of weird. But here, it's doing something different. The construction is both intellectual and emotional.
Like, I mean, this could be a movie that's like so intellectualized, but it's not.
Agreed.
It's very character focused. It knows exactly what it's trying to say.
Or it is that, but it is also intellectual.
Yeah. It definitely is a film that you can talk about, like, at least like thematically or like subject material wise, you can talk about it.
Totally.
And you can dig into like what it means for the characters, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
But you don't need to access the film that way.
No.
Yeah.
It is not necessary. And it doesn't present itself as like a look at how smart I am movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Great movie.
Thank you, Todd Haynes.
Yeah.
We need more unethical art. I am always saying this.
Oh, yeah. I forgot you opened the episode with that. So interesting.
True.
Good unethical art.
The thing is, this is not unethical, but it makes an unethical viewer of you, or reminds you of the creepiness of being a viewer.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, I feel like more mainstream movies do need to like wade into these waters. Like, I'm thinking about how like safe Barbie felt this year. Weird comparison, but I don't know. It's on its surface, it tries to be so political, right? But I think it really achieves not that much in terms of discourse.
I think there's some radical aspects of Barbie.
What radical aspects of Barbie?
Particularly the latter stretch of the movie of showing the Barbies planning and executing this overthrow of the Ken's power, even if it is on a very small scale. To know that young girls are seeing that, I think has a certain kind of power.
Yeah.
I would say Oppenheimer is the safe movie of the year that got put on a pedestal.
Okay, maybe.
I mean, I think it's safe. Like, I think, here's the thing. Like, I think with May December, it never explicitly tells you anything, but it is doing a lot to tell you something or show you something.
Yeah.
Oppenheimer is trying to be ambiguous, but it's hiding the fact that there's no opinion behind ambiguity.
Yes, exactly.
That's the problem.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I think that's why I think about Oppenheimer.
Yep.
Is it very well made? Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
And so I think
Sorry, Wilson.
that's kind of like where I'm landing. But I don't know. My rankings this year are very confused. I'm not really sure.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think we
Well,
can
that's a
continue
good
this
teaser for our
discussion. We can continue on our Year End list.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Wonder where this May December may land this December.
If you like that teaser of a conversation, come back for our year in review, dropping sometime in February.
Or March. Because
Or
sometimes we're
April.
very slow. Let's move on. Let's end it.
Cool. Thank you for listening to this episode of Deep Cut. Please rate and review because that helps us keep making the show. Be sure to subscribe to us where you listen to podcasts so you'll know when our next episode drops. Keep up with Deep Cut on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and Letterboxd at Deep Cut Pod. Join us to talk about movies on our Discord server, to which you'll find a link in the description. Deep Cut is hosted, produced, and edited by us, Wilson Lai, Benjamin Yap, and Eli Sands. Our cover art is designed by Justina Yam, and our theme song is composed by me, Eli Sands.
I'm Wilson.
I'm Ben.
I'm Eli. Take care, and we're looking forward to talking about more movies with you next time.